Hey students, it's Miss Ernsberger. So you're getting ready to watch Unit 1, Day 6 video notes. There are 3 videos that I am putting together in one video. Should take you about 30 minutes to get through these videos. I'm going to put a couple of stopper questions in there. So be ready to answer those questions. Make sure you're taking good notes. When you get done, be sure you go in and mark the videos as done. All right, here we go. Hi, students. These are the notes for Unit 1, Day 6. You're going to need a couple of highlighters, your calculator, and vocab, pages 6 and 7. We have 5 vocab words to do, which is what we will start with first. Okay, so we're jumping into complementary and supplementary. So these words are going to describe angle pairs of angles that have special names. And so make sure you memorize these and you know what they are, because we use these words all the time in geometry. These next 5 words are used the most out of all the words that we've had so far. All right, the first one is complementary. So complementary, 2 angles that add to 90. So remember, because we're dealing with a pair, it is 2 angles. So the other angles words were describing 1 angle. This is describing 2 angles, a pair of angles. So first thing we need to do is to make this a right angle, because I actually don't think it's accurate, but we are going to make this a right angle, and now that makes it accurate. It is now officially a 90-degree angle. So if I'm going to have 2 angles that add to 90, then I'm going to draw an angle in here. So just somewhere in that picture, draw a ray. It doesn't have to be directly in the middle. It doesn't matter. So let's label this angle 1 and angle 2. And let's say that this angle is 40 degrees, and I'll make this one 50. And that should make sense to you, because they should add to what? 90. Very good. So in order to be complementary, angle 1 plus angle 2 equals 90 degrees. And that is the definition of complementary. Okay, then we have supplementary. Supplementary angles add 2 angles that add to 180 degrees. 2 angles that add to 180 degrees. So let's put an angle 1 and an angle 2. Let's make angle 1 140 degrees. Let's make angle 2 40 degrees. So they should add to 180, which they do. So angle 1 plus angle 2 equals 180 degrees. And that is the definition of supplementary. If you get confused about which word goes with which 90 or 180, complementary comes first in the alphabet, and it goes with the first number that you come to. Supplementary comes second in the alphabet. It goes with the second number, if you were looking at the numbers on a number line. Okay, then we have what's called adjacent. I'm going to go ahead and tell you, students struggle with adjacent angles. They forget the definition. So an adjacent angle, pair of adjacent angles, are 2 angles that have a common side, and they share a common vertex. Okay, so they share a common side and they share a common vertex. So I have 2 angles. This is their common side, and this is their common vertex. Okay, that's their common side, that's their common vertex. Another way to think of adjacent angles, if you lived in adjacent apartments, that would be apartments that are side by side. So if you think of adjacent angles, just consider those angles to be side by side. So adjacent in geometry means touching, angles that touch. All right, linear pair. The most commonly used vocab word, I think, is linear pair because we will use it forever in geometry. So linear means line, and pair means that we have two angles. So a linear pair are two angles that form a straight line. The actual definition is a pair of angles, so two angles, it's a pair, that are adjacent. We just learned that word. So they're touching, and they are supplementary, which means they add to 180. So that is the official definition of a linear pair. There's not really anything else that I need to put on that picture. That is the picture of a linear pair. Next, we have vertical angles. Okay, vertical angles are the opposite angles, so here and here, or here and here, the opposite angles formed by intersecting lines. The opposite angles formed by intersecting lines. So let's put a 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4. Okay, 1, 2, 3, and 4. I'm going to use my highlighter, and I'm going to fill in angle 1 and angle 2 with the same color. Okay, angle 1 and angle 2 are vertical angles. They're the angles that are opposite each other in this picture. And so one of our postulates or theorems, can't remember which one it is, that we have will tell us that vertical angles are congruent. So if this angle right here is 100 degrees, then this angle here is also 100 degrees. So angle 1 is congruent to angle 2. They have the same measure. You will need to know that in the work that we do. All right, angle 3 is here. Angle 4 is here. That's another pair of vertical angles that we have. So we can say angle 3 is congruent to angle 4. They have the same measure. So if this is 100, what would this have to be? Think about it. This is a straight line right here. So if this is 100, this would have to be 80. So 80, and this would have to be 80. Then if you look, that should make sense, because if this is 80, that has to be 100. If this is 80, this has to be 100. Those are equal to each other. Those are equal to each other. So you have linear pairs, linear pair, linear pair, linear pair, and then you have vertical and vertical. The vocabulary is so important that you learn that in geometry. All right, that concludes the vocab part of it. If you'll go find your worksheet, we will continue with the next video. All right, here you go. Hi, students. All right, we're ready for Unit 1, Day 6 notes. It's very important that you have a calculator and a highlighter. I'll be highlighting some keywords in the problems. And just know as we go through these notes, I may not have you work all the problems out, which is fine, as long as we can set them up. We've had a couple of days of doing algebra. I would be comfortable with you just knowing that you knew how to set them up, because the algebra should be getting easier for you. So let's jump right into these problems. All right, so the first little section says, find the missing measure. That's where the x is. Keep in mind the angle relationships that we just had. That is the complementary, supplementary, adjacent, vertical, and linear pair. As we go through, we're going to talk about those words. So what kind of angles would these be out of those 5 that I just said? These are vertical. Okay, vertical angles are congruent. So that means x would be 112 degrees. All right, these two angles, what would the word be that goes with them? Complementary. Complementary is one of those words that are really long. So usually I abbreviate things with 5 letters. COMPL. Perfect enough to know that we're talking about complementary. So what do those two angles add to? We have to add to 90. So we're going to take 90 and subtract the 68. 90 minus 68 in your calculator is going to give you 22 degrees. 22 degrees. And then these two angles, what's a word that goes with that? Linear pair or supplementary. Supplementary is the word that's going to help us get the measure, because what we're going to do is we're going to take 180 and we're going to subtract the 124. Now, when you're doing your work, you don't have to show me this. You don't have to show me this. I'm just showing you how to do the problem. So that would be 56 degrees. Okay, number 4, we're going to find x, y, and z, and this is just like the picture of the vertical angles that we had. So we have vertical angles, and we have linear pair. Whoops. Those are the things that we're looking at. So the vertical angles, the first thing that I know is that y is 43 degrees. Okay, those are vertical. And then I'm going to use this little green piece of paper. If you look right here, that's a linear pair. So those two angles have to add to 180. So I'm going to take 180 and subtract 43. 180 minus 43 gives us 137. And if that angle is 137, what does this one have to be? 137. Not bad at all. Okay, number 5. So we've got the 72 degrees given to us. What is this equal? 90. Very good. So remember what we talked about on the perpendicular? If this angle's 90, what is this angle here? 90. So we are talking about complementary. These two angles have to add to 90. So if I do 90 minus 72, that's going to leave me 18 degrees. So that little angle is 18 degrees. My next question, do you see a pair of vertical angles? Right here. These two angles are vertical. So if this one is 72, then this one has to be 72. And then these two angles right here are a linear pair. So we have vertical. And now we have linear pair. I'm going to put LINPR. That's usually how I abbreviate it. So now we have a linear pair. So I'm going to take 180 and subtract the 72. 180 minus 72 gives us 108. So you can see in these 5 problems how we're using our vocab and the meanings of the words and how we have those angle pairs together. These 5 things together are very, very important in geometry. Okay, the next 4 are going to be really quick. So I've got some words that we're going to look at. 1 and 2 are, no, we're not looking at any pictures up here. Angle 1 and 2 are vertical angles. If the measure of angle 2 is 105, what would be the measure of angle 1? Well, it would be 105. There's no work to do for that because they were vertical angles. This is just testing your vocab to see if you can think of the vocab definition without looking at a picture. Number 7, angle A and B are complementary. So what does that mean? They add to 90. So if they add to 90, the measure of angle A is 42. How would you find the measure of angle B? Okay, so the way that I am going to get the measure of angle B is I'm simply going to take 90 and subtract 42. Again, you don't have to show me that work. You just need to know that the answer is 48 degrees. They add to 90. All right, then we have supplementary. What do supplementary angles add to? 180. So we're going to take 180. One of the angles is 64. What is the other one? All you have to do is subtract. So 180 minus 64 gives us 116. And then we have angle 1 and angle 2 form a linear pair. The measure of angle 1 is 113. What is the measure of angle 2? A linear pair is just a straight line. A straight angle, straight line, linear pair, supplementary, they all mean 180. So we're going to take 180, subtract 113, and we get 67 degrees. So those first 9 problems were just testing to see if you knew your vocab. All right, let's jump into the algebra. Now remember, I may not make you work out all of the algebra. I might put the answers on here, and so you can go back and do it if you need to. But if I don't work it out, you don't have to work it out. Perfectly fine. Okay, so the first one is the measure of angle PQT. Trace it with your pencil. PQT is 3x plus 47. And angle SQR SQR is 6x minus 25. What would be a vocab word to go with those two angles? They're vertical. They're vertical angles, so we would set them equal to each other. All right, to save us time on this video, we would get x equals 24. If you need to work that out, go ahead and work it out. You don't have to. Now, the question said, what is the measure of angle SQR? And SQR is this angle right here. So we would plug in 6 times 24 minus 25, and my final answer would be 119 degrees. Number 11. So I want you to notice how every problem in geometry is different. So you learn a little bit in each problem that you do. That's why it's important that you do all of your work. Let's label our picture. All right, so first of all, we have perpendicular lines. That's a geometry word. What does it mean? They're going to make 90-degree angles. Angle DCE is 7x plus 2. Angle ECB is x plus 8. Squeeze that in right here. Find the measure of angle DCE. All right, angle DCE is this one here, so that's where we'll go back and plug in. So what do you know about these two angles? What are they going to add to? They are complementary. They are adding to 90 degrees. So 7x plus 2 plus x plus 8 would equal 90. When you work that out, which you don't have to, we would get x equals 10. To plug back in, to find angle DCE, DCE is right here. By the way, feel free to grab your highlighter and highlight in the picture what you're trying to find. That's where our final answer is. That's where our final answer was. That's a great way to make sure you're getting your final answer. So we're going to say 7 times 10 plus 2. So angle DCE is 72 degrees. All right, number 12. Angle KMN, trace it with your pen. KNM is 8x minus 5. Angle MNJ, MNJ right here is 4x minus 19. All right, so are those vertical? No. Are they complementary? No. Are they supplementary? Yes. What do supplementary angles add up to? 180 degrees. So 4x minus 19 plus 8x minus 5 equals 180. By the way, it doesn't matter which one of these you write first. Doesn't matter which one you write first. So then we would work that out, combine like terms, move things from the left to the right. X equals 17. The question says to find the measure of angle KNM. KNM is this one right here. So that would be 8 times 17 minus 5, which is 131 degrees. If you have any questions on any of those first 12 problems, grab your highlighter, highlight the entire problem, and then bring it to my attention during class. Okay, I'm going to jump to the back and do the last video. So go ahead and stop this one and go to the next one. Which you don't need to stop it because we're just running these videos all together. Here's the third video. It is about 16 minutes, so this is the longest one, and then you'll be done. Hello, students. Oh, I'm sorry, 13 minutes. Unit 1, Day 6 notes. And remember, I may not work the problems out all the way. If you need to work them out or you don't understand how I got an answer, take your highlighter, highlight the entire problem, and then come ask me. All right, so let's jump into number 13. Now, number 13 is an unusual problem because it's going to have x's and y's. Let's label our diagram first. Angle DEG is 5x minus 4. That goes here. Angle GEF is 7x minus 8. And then I'm going to put in orange angle DEH, which which is 9y plus 5. I'm just putting it in orange so I can point it out to you. You can use pencil, no big deal. 9y plus 5. The reason I put it in orange is I want you to see you cannot use these two in an equation together. You can use these two in an equation, but not these two. So we have to come up with somehow to get x, and this is how I'm going to get that. I'm going to put my x's together. What would those add up to? 180 degrees. So 5x minus 4 plus 7x minus 8 adds together to give you 180 degrees. We would work that out and get x equals 16. Now, to find y, we are going to take the 16 and we're going to plug the 16 in somewhere. So we have to kind of study the problem and figure out what we could do. So I have to have some kind of relationship with this angle here. I'm going to show you the two options. One of the options is I can plug in the 16 here, and then what do you know about these two angles? They would add to 180. The other thing I could do is I could plug the 16 in right here, and what do you know about these two angles? They are equal to each other because they're vertical angles. That's actually the way that I'm going to do this. If I plug the 16 here and I go 7 times 16 minus 8, that gives me 104. So right here, this angle is 104. Okay, well then what does that mean this angle is equal to? It is also equal to 104. This is your algebra problem that you're going to use. We're going to say 9y plus 5 equals 104. And that's going to give me, if I subtract 5, divide by 9, that would give me y equals 11. So then just make sure you circle your answers when you have an x and a y so that it's easy for me to locate them. And then organize your work. Make sure you're fitting all of your work in on the page. All right, the next 4 problems, I did some highlighting. You can go ahead and highlight those, but they're vocab words. So we're going to talk about what these vocab words mean. I'm not going to work out the problems. I'm just going to put the answers and show you how we got them. Okay, so number 14, angle R and angle S are complementary. What does that mean? They're going to add to 90. Okay, so we're going to say 12x minus 3 plus 7x minus 2, and that would add to 90. And we would work that out and get x equals 5. The question says to find angle R, so I would go back right here, angle R, and I would plug in. So to get angle R, we're going to say 12 times 5 minus 3. Let's do that. And that would give us angle R is 57 degrees. Not too bad. Okay, number 15. Number 15 says supplementary. What does that mean? They're going to add to 180 degrees. Same thing that we did over here, but it's going to be 180. So we're going to say 4x plus 1 plus 9x minus 3 equals 180. We would solve that for x. And then the question said to find the measure of angle Q. So angle Q, we would take 9 times 14 and subtract 3, and that gives us 123 degrees. All right, the next 2 questions are, once again, those problems that have the words that we have to write the math problem out of. So the way I'm going to do this is I'm going to come down here and I'm going to say angle 1 and angle 2, and we're going to show what they're represented by. Okay, first of all, let's read the problem. Angle 1 and angle 2 form a linear pair. So what are we going to add them to? We're going to add them to 180 degrees. The measure of angle 2 is, now you know in algebra is equals. So angle 2 equals 6 more than twice the measure of angle 1. Angle 1 is the angle we don't know anything about. So it's going to be our x. And then angle 2, watch how I do this. 6 more than twice the measure of angle 1. So that's how we represent angle 2. And what are those two angles going to add up to? A linear pair, which is 180 degrees. So x plus 2x plus 6, we would work that out, and we would get x equals 58. So then the question said, find the measure of angle 2. I'm going to plug in to x. So angle 2 would equal 2 times 58 plus 6, and then that would be 122 degrees. If they wanted me to find angle 1, it would just be 58. All right, so what I need you to do right now is I want you to pause the video, and I want you to work out problem number 17 on your own, just to make sure you comprehend how we do these problems with words. Pause the video, work out number 17. If you haven't worked out the problem yet, please do so. I'm going to show you the answer. First of all, what do complementary angles add up to? 90 degrees. Okay, so let's talk about angle J and angle K. Which one of those would get the X? The measure of angle J is 18 less than the measure of angle K. I don't know anything about the K, so angle K gets the X. Angle J is 18 less than angle K. So that's X minus 18. These two angles are going to add to 90 degrees. So there's my work. You get X equals 54. And then the question said find the measure of each angle, so both of them. So angle K is 54. Angle J is 54 minus 18, which is 36. So angle J is 36, angle K is 54. By the way, what should those two add up to? 90 degrees. Awesome. All right, the last three problems all have the same word highlighted. Bisect, bisect, bisect. So what does that mean? It means it cuts the angle in half. So number 18 is very, very basic. This angle is cut in half, so these two angles are equal to each other. And angle TUW is 13x minus 5. Angle WUV is 7x plus 31. All we're going to do is set those angles equal to each other. You work that out, you get x equals 6. The question said find the value of x, so we're done. Number 19, ray MO bisects angle PMN. So find angle PMN and cut it in half, so this angle is equal to this angle. PMN is 74. Angle PMN is 74 degrees. Angle OMN, I don't think I can squeeze this in there. OMN is 2x plus 7. So I'm going to draw a little arrow and put 2x plus 7. Okay, the question said find the value of x. There are two ways we can think of this problem. If this angle is the only angle they gave us, and it's half of the big angle, what is half of 74? Half of 74 is 37. Okay, half of 74 is 37. So I could just say 2x plus 7 equals 37. And we could work that out. 2x equals 30. X equals 15. Okay. The other way that I could do this, do you remember on the other worksheet that we had a midpoint problem, and I only gave you half of it, which was 3x plus 1, and you had to put the 3x plus 1 on the other side? We could also say that this angle here is 2x plus 7. Because they are equal to each other, I could say 2x plus 7 plus 2x plus 7, that's both of the angles, so they would add up to equal 74. Well, guess what answer you're going to get with that as well? You would get x equals 15. Either way is perfectly fine. I use half of the angle, so I would use half of that measurement right here. All right, the last one is the one that's a little bit confusing. So let's see what is bisected. EF bisects angle CEB. So this is the angle that's been cut in half. Angle CEF is 7x plus 21. Angle FEB is 10x minus 3. All right, so obviously we're going to set those two equal to each other. Work that out, you get x equals 8. The question says, find the measure of angle DEB. Now, angle DEB is this angle right here. At first glance, it looks like this angle is a right angle, but what's missing? There's nothing in the problem telling us this is a right angle. That would make the problem really easy. We cannot use 90 in the problem. So this is what I figured out. Do you see this big angle here? Okay, this big angle. If I were to plug in the 8 and plug in the 8, I could get that measure. Because what happens is this angle over here is also a vertical angle, and it would be the same measure. So what happens is when you plug 8 in here, you get 77. When you plug in 8 here, you should get 77 because they're equal to each other. And if you add those together, you get 154. All right, now hopefully you'll see where I'm going with this. If I knew that this angle was 154, what do these two angles add up to? 180. So if I just took 180 and subtract 154, that's going to give me the angle that I need. And so that ends up being 26 degrees as your final answer. So angle DEB equals 26 degrees. That problem is an application problem, a little bit harder than what I would expect you to do, but it's not impossible to do it. You just have to take these problems and really, really think about how you can get to the answer. All right, we are done with the notes. I want you to remember that worksheet number 6 will be done inside the classroom. If you feel like you're going to take a long time to do it, then feel free to start it. But if you have any questions on the notes, please have those ready to ask me when we come to class. Thank you. See you in class. All right, so the videos are over. I need you to go into the assignment for the video notes, and I need you to mark that video as done to get it off of your to-do list. We will do worksheet number 6 in class the next day I see you. For this unit, all we have is worksheet number 7, and then we have study guide, and then we have test. So hopefully you're staying caught up. You guys are doing awesome. Thank you, and I'll see you in class.